podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
All right, so Daniel, there was some concern during the week that Alejandro Garnacho head might be getting a bit too big, so much so that Ten Hag has refused to give him a permanent spot in the dressing room, apparently. How big do you think his head's going to be now?
However big it is not big enough. That was a very, very joyous moment.
It really was.
An extremely joyous weekend. England won the Cricket World Cup, which I found an extremely joyous moment.
Yep.
We sort of compensated for the fact that I've spent the last 2 days, I nailed myself with sulfuric acid yesterday.
How do you manage to do that? There's a story
I know we
there.
like to give you, here's some home improvement tips. Do not inhale sulfuric acid, anyone. So I was, the bath
Just
was
in
blocked.
case, yeah.
Our bath was blocked. And my wife was hectoring me to get a plumber in. As you might imagine, I was not keen to get a plumber in because plumbers are expensive and that, etc. So I asked a friend who's a property developer if he had any plumbers because our usual plumber that was not available. And he said, now what you need to do is you need to go to this shop and get yourself this one-shot cleaner, is called, and just squirt it down and that'll do it. So I went to the shop where it said on the front something like, take your mask off, there is no COVID here. And it also said one school child at a time. And I was kind of, we all spent our youth hanging out in plumber shops. I go in, the guy behind is just so deeply unpleasant, and he's got a Watford tattoo on his calf. So I get the one-stop shop thing, and I go and I do it. But I'm a highly clumsy individual, and I spill a couple of drops on the bath. So while it's doing its stuff, and let me tell you, like, the buzz and the fizz is extremely exhilarating. And I know that because I'm extremely clumsy, I'll be dead careful not to get it on my exposed skin. And so it's doing its hissing and buzzing, and I'm like, yeah, baby, this shit's working. I've also dropped a couple of the bits on the bath, so I've got my face over the plug hole, wiping them away so that I don't get aggravation for doing that. And then about an hour later, I noticed that I'm having trouble swallowing. And that continued until today. And then I woke up this morning, just felt like, not just that I hadn't slept, but like I'd been out for about a generation. And it transpired that, one is meant to apply the uric acid in a well-ventilated room and then not put one's face in extremely close proximity to it thereafter. But very strong acid sort of sounds like, I want a bit of that. But you do not want a bit of this.
Next time, you need your plumbing sorted out, get a man round to do it for you.
No. I mean, I would swap my uncomfortable day for the money that I saved. And anyway, it was redeemed by Alejandro Garnacho, just about.
Just about, yeah. Well, strange game, wasn't it? Because United had, 3 or 4 chances in that first half? Marcus Rashford, Martial not finishing decent chances. Could have been 3 up at one stage, maybe. But actually, you look at the pattern of the game, and Fulham were pretty good, I thought. Put United under a lot of pressure. Willian absolutely roasted Tyrell Malacia at right back. And so, in the end, probably got away with one, scoring right at the end. But it was entertaining open games. So
they totally got away with that. But I would say I think you're a little bit harsh on Malacia just because I know he struggled with Willian, but Willian didn't actually do anything, and that was partly because of Malacia and partly because of Willian. But considering that's not his position, I thought he did okay. But we know that United aren't ruthless. And we got punished for that. And also, I mean, I'll tell you what, in the Great Lost podcast of last week, the one on the game against Villa that never quite made it because my microphone wasn't working properly, we were taking the piss out of Lindelof, who got substituted for another short-ass centre-back with the team about to defend a lot of set pieces, which was an absolutely massive kick in the bollocks for him, I thought. I mean, I felt kicked in the bollocks on his behalf. Thought he played pretty well today.
He did
There
all
was
right,
quite
yeah.
a lot of times the ball came into the box, and he was in the right position to get rid of it. So
I mean, Fulham made a couple of chances from set pieces. I mean, they were clearly trying to get the ball into the box. I mean, clearly that was a plan of theirs, and they had a couple
very cunning.
of headers. Dave made a couple of decent saves, didn't he? The double save from the shot, and then from the resulting corner. But it's not like United were under tons of pressure all the time. I just thought it felt a little bit open, and that's why he brought McTominay on, didn't he, to try and like tighten it up. But that straight changed the balance of the attack with Bruno having to go wide again. So it kind of compromised there, trying to fix the openness, and that's what made it an entertaining game. I mean, 28 shots in this game, so
Yeah, it was a good game. I mean, that's something that has been a massive change this season, that watching United is not the worst thing you will do on that particular day.
yeah.
And these
bonus.
No, this is progress. The games have actually been fairly entertaining and enjoyable almost. And as you say, like he dropped that McTominay substitution was a fucking stinker. We can see what he was trying to do, and I think it might have even worked if instead of sticking Bruno wide, he'd have gone something like 4-3-1-2 or something like that.
Some kind of box midfield, yeah.
Or you keep McTominay in the middle. You put McTominay in the middle of the pitch, but you keep Bruno in the middle of the pitch too. And you just then go a little bit narrower up front, because ultimately they were trying to get in behind, and that if you've got two fast forwards, then you can use them to rove about and run in and still run in behind. They can start wide, they can be split, they can play up like a front two, but it shouldn't really affect the way that you're able to play that much. But once you take Bruno off the middle of the pitch, again, like this, something. I mean, we said it on Thursday in the Great Loss podcast of 2022, but we've been saying it for weeks that you have to have the best player in the team in the middle of the pitch on the ball as often as you can get him on the ball, because he's the guy that makes shit happen. And we saw it with the first goal, which was a great goal.
Yeah, it was a great goal, and it's almost got another one like that, didn't they? Where the cut back to Eriksen, who missed with his left foot. But yeah, that was a really nice break from United, and Bruno got the ball across. Took a little deflection. I don't think it really changed the path that it was going to Eriksen.
I agree. It was a really, really good pass from Bruno. But even before that, the challenge from Casemiro is the kind of thing of which we have not seen anything like enough over not just even the past year or the past decade, but even really while Fergie was still manager, there was still a lack of that kind of behaviour. But a proper crunching tackle from Casemiro, and then just three correct passes, which is amazing. What an actual turn up for the books that is, and how delightful it is to see. But the way that the awareness of Bruno to be able to kind of open up the body to fade that pass across is why he's the best player in the team.
Yeah, that's right. And it's those like kind of final moments, as well as the finishing from United, which has obviously not been good this season. That's why we're on 0 goal difference. It's where it breaks down in the final moments, not always making the right decisions because we've got flaky forwards. That was the right one.
I thought that Rashford actually, I mean, he was much better in the first half than the second half. He was not good at all in the second half. But one of the pleasing things I've noticed about him in the last couple of weeks is that, and he says he's working on his hold-up play, and the best centre forwards in that are particularly really good at using their arse properly. And we've seen quite a few times in the last few games where he's done that. He did it obviously for the goal in midweek. And he's also using it now. He's not just when he's in the middle, but out wide to like stick his arse into people and then use that to roll them off his arsehole, basically. And like Mark Hughes style. And it's so simple and so important, but it seems like no one's ever really told him to do it. And he is doing it a bit better now, but he does still, he flits in and out. He was good in the first half and useless in the second half, more or less.
Yeah, I like the fact that he seems to have a bit more confidence now. He's actually taking on players, even if it isn't quite working all the time. And when in his lowest moments over the last couple of years, he'll get the ball, either run into a blind alley, which he's done a lot, or just have to go backwards and everything breaks down from there. So at least he's got the confidence to take players on. Doesn't always work. But I
But
like
yeah,
that,
he's
and
being
yeah,
more
a
physical.
bit more physical through the middle as well. That's great as well. I mean, you can see that Martial has got that, right? He can't stay fit, but he just feels a much more natural sort of number 9 in that position.
They just
And
look a much
he
better
came off
team.
because he can't play more than 70 minutes or whatever. But the team
He's got to
needs
be
it.
fit. He needs
But
to be fit for the next game.
yeah, that's right. Burnley at home 3 days after the World Cup final.
You
Great
need,
timing,
I mean,
lads.
just any kind of competent centre forward makes this team better. And Martial, fit and focused, is much better than competent. And he was quite good today. He wasn't at his best, but in theory he should be able to get better. Well, I mean, as you said before, like, we don't score enough goals, and in theory, if a team like Fulham gets involved in an open game with a team like United, it shouldn't even be close to close. And yeah, it was extremely close. And it's hard. I guess it's because Casemiro, there's only so much ground he can cover as to why teams, and I mean, particularly the last 2 games, why teams have been able to get through our midfield so easily and so frequently. But that is a problem. And I still think that the best version of of Ten Hag's team is going to need a different player in midfield instead of Eriksen, good though I think Eriksen is. That how are you just Eriksen, Bruno, Casemiro just doesn't seem to cover enough ground. Maybe they'll get better at keeping the ball, so it won't be necessary, but it doesn't look like it at this point.
Well, you require Bruno to play deeper and be more conservative, I think, in order to keep the ball more often and not turn it over. And that's where United looked really open in transitions. Of course, that was where Fulham scored from, wasn't it? Break. I think it was out of Bruno and he miscontrolled it, and then Malacia was supporting him and totally out of position. And
it was a classic consecutive errors goal from straight out of late era Ole, or even before, even like peak Ole, where there's just one catastrophic error after another, culminating with a goal. The only thing that was missing was a De Gea fuck up.
Yeah, which he managed to not do today. He even came off his line and cleared the ball with his feet today, which was shocking. I mean, that contract negotiation is not going to win itself, is it?
I thought that was the sulfuric acid playing tricks on me.
Is that right? Yeah. It was a really bad goal. I mean, I haven't actually seen what Erik ten Hag said after the game about that one, but I'm sure he's not happy about it.
He wasn't asked about it. He was actually buzzing that they'd won. I mean, the thing about that goal actually is, in the end, though, all of the errors, like Bruno's, it was an error. In a way, we're being harsh. Like, he was trying to do something clever, and he was trying to do it in an area of the pitch that he's allowed to try that shit. But it didn't work, and there was a massive gap behind him. And then the biggest error was Shaw. Shaw got run off by Daniel James, and
right.
And if everything else had happened, and Shaw had been paying attention, that wouldn't have been a goal. But
but that is classic Luke Shaw, isn't it? Getting out of position and not following. Yeah, I mean,
because he had an all right position to start with. Daniel James did well, actually, and that was just one of those things. When we sold him, it felt like the money we got for him was quite good, but I knew that we were exchanging it for him doing something against us.
Yeah.
At least it wasn't for Leeds.
Yeah, and he hasn't really to date, has he? So he's allowed one. He did a half celebration, ran off, and then decided that he ought to not celebrate.
I wondered about
podcast
that.
listeners know I'm not in favour of that. I think you should celebrate.
That really be the case? Fucking Mark Hughes celebrated when he scored for Chelsea.
Danny Welbeck went properly mental when he scored against us.
And so they should. I mean, it's ludicrous. Like, I don't think less of the players that celebrate. I think less of the players that don't celebrate. I mean, Daniel, you are not Dennis Law.
That's right. He's still got time. He's still young-ish. But it seems unlikely that he will make it to Law standards. Yeah, I mean, he actually had another chance, didn't he? After that, with the header, Dan James, and then I don't think it was him who did the overhead kick. I can't remember. Was it Tom Kearney or?
I don't think it was either of them. Maybe it was Vinicius. Maybe. Maybe.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things that I'm noticing about the way that United play under Ten Hag sometimes is that they are sort of, he'll have told them a particular weakness of the opposition, and then they just do it all the time. So against Villa, it was crosses. And against Villa, the second time, it was balls in behind.
Yeah.
and then it was that again today, and
It was floated over the
feels
top,
like
wasn't it? A lot of them.
play football, but be aware that this is what they do. So when the opportunity to do it well presents itself, then you should do it. But the rest of the time,
Not every
just
fucking time.
just play some football and allow the fact that you have superior players to pay off, and that should be it. But yeah, it was just that constant effort to get in behind, and it worked in the end against Villa the second time. It worked again today in the end, but it didn't work against Villa, and it generally won't work. Just play football and be aware of these things rather than trying to perform them the whole time.
That's right. Well, and I guess the substitution that changed the game was Garnacho coming on. I mean, obviously because he scored the winner, but also just adding a little bit of impetus to United. I mean, he hit an outrageous pass against Villa for Scott McTominay's goal. Absolutely beautiful ball. And then today he's on the ball and attacking Bobby Reed like immediately. Just
even the goal that he made for Bruno, was it Bruno? Was it the third goal that in midweek was good?
Yeah.
Where the ball comes to him and it's just one
He
quick,
picks the right pass,
hard,
yeah.
straight, square pass, which sounds really simple, but it isn't, because most of the others would not have done it.
That's right.
And it's just the ability to do what you need to do when you need to do it and do it really quickly. And that's what I like about him. Gary Neville said that United weren't good at the end, and I didn't actually think that was quite a fair assessment of what happened. United totally lost their way in the second half for about 25 minutes, but in the last 15, they actually created quite a lot of good situations and just fucked them all up. So it wasn't quite, like, by the end, it looked like if there was going to be a winner, it was going to be United. They just kept making the wrong decisions at the crucial moment, or the ball would fall in the wrong place, or whatever it would be. But I actually quite liked the way that they played once Garnacho came on, apart from it was just that individual decision making rather than as a collective, they just collapsed, which they did for that period in the second half. And
right, and if it's any sort of signal, 6 big chances created today, 4 of them missed. So that's a lot of really good chances to create and to miss. And it seems, it's I guess a summary of part of United's problems this season, why we haven't scored enough goals and why we're on 0 goal difference. But crucially, like not far, 3 points off Tottenham in 4th or 3rd or whatever they are. So like in touching distance.
So we're 5th, aren't we? We're 5th, 3 behind Spurs with the game in hand. We're going to finish above Tottenham. And if we don't finish above Tottenham, that we probably won't finish 5th either, because Tottenham aren't going to finish in the top 4.
It'll be interesting to see what Newcastle do in January window. Do they gamble? Because they can go spend money, clearly, wealth behind them.
Gambling is almost not gambling when you are also the bookmaker, effectively, because you're printing your own money. I think that they're sort of the definition of in a good moment. And them and Arsenal really don't need this break at all. And whether they're going to be able to come back and play like this, who knows? Because you don't know what's going to happen to the players that are at the World Cup. Callum Wilson's going to go to the World Cup and potentially not get on the pitch. Moraes, I don't think he plays for Brazil, does he?
No, he's in the squad.
No. I mean, I know he's in the squad, but the midfield is Fred, Casemiro,
Casemiro,
and someone that isn't him, I think. So you're not quite sure what's going to happen with them, and also it feels like they're a team playing at their absolute maximum at the moment. Everything's going for them. It's not necessarily going to be the case. Again, like they are a decent team, Newcastle, and they may strengthen, but we should get more points than that.
Yes, should do. Hopefully, we'll see. But, I mean, it's surprisingly tight at the top. I mean, I guess because really, I mean, City they should have more points than they actually do. So they've lost a few games they shouldn't have done. Arsenal are overperforming their XG significantly. It's like if you're a nerd, you're going to say that's probably not going to last. And then Spurs, Chelsea, or Liverpool, United, Newcastle, all sort of, they've got their weaknesses, haven't they? All of them.
With the Arsenal and the XG thing, like it is possible, obviously, but it is also that they are overperforming their XG, so they regress to the mean at some point. Well, it's also possible that the confidence of winning those kind of games elevates them, and they get better. I mean, so I watched some of Arsenal last night because my wife was doing something else, I guess, which is generally when I get to watch football on Saturday night like that. But watching the game, I felt like Wolves had the potential to score on the counter, but if they didn't, it felt like, Arsenal were going to get a goal at some point. It did feel like that. And I actually was thinking while I was watching it that Odegaard, it sort of reminded me of why when I want to know about a football team, I don't ask a football writer. I ask sensible people that watch that team, because football writers don't watch every game a team plays. Some do, but so, for example, I am a football writer. When they signed Odegaard, I guess I was quite pleased because I'd seen a fair bit of him and I felt like he wasn't that good. And people that I know who watch Arsenal regularly thought that I was talking out my arse. And it turns out that I was, because they were able to watch him in the round in a way that I wasn't, because Arsenal aren't my team, and were pretty sure that he was good. And he
seems to be more effective than I thought he would be. Again, not watched every game, but the few he played for Madrid and then his first loan spell at Arsenal, none of it was that good. Like, technically brilliant player that couldn't affect games, and now
all his goals and assists were against crap teams, weren't they?
Yeah.
But he has gone up a level now, and I guess
gone up a level. Yeah, no, I watched yesterday's game, although on my phone while soldering wires in my car, so not exactly.
I get you.
Didn't breathe in any acid.
Telling you about my sulfuric acid mishap. You're just busy building a car out of nothing.
Yeah, well, yes, it won't turn on at the moment, so I may not have actually done that properly, but yeah, we'll see. But when you need to get something proper done, get the right man in. That's the lesson here, I think. So let's talk about the winning goal then.
What a goal!
What a moment! Yeah, he's going to be some player, isn't he? He was the best player on the pitch for the last 20 minutes when he came on against Villa.
I don't understand exactly why he didn't start, actually. Because
today, because he's a much better player than Elanga.
He's just a much better player than Elanga, and he'd earned it. And I guess Elanga is more able to play on the right. But by the time Elanga went off, he was on the right, and Rashford was on the left. But what I really liked about the goal was the way that he started it by keeping the width on the touchline.
Yeah,
and then the pass from Eriksen was crap. It was even worse than the pass from Ronaldo.
Right.
Within his last week, they turned into a goal. But just that ability to, some players ease onto the gas and he stamps onto the gas. And there's different kinds of pace. There are some players who are just like Steven Gerrard. Once he gets going, so he wasn't brilliant over the first 3 yards, but once he gets to 7 yards, he's just absolute dynamite. Garnacho is more like an Andy Cole kind of pace, where just the acceleration of nothing is ridiculous. And what he was able to do was then, at that ridiculous pace, find a really composed finish. And that's the second time we've seen him do that. And I think it's that ability to execute at ridiculous pace. And today, under pressure, this is the last kick of the game.
Yeah.
You might snatch it, you might hammer it, but no, it's just a slid finish, just a really simple. It's not show offy either. It's just a really simple finish. And
no, didn't try and hammer it. It's not trying to stick that one in the top corner or anything like that. Just really composed and to be really unfair for a moment. Do we believe that Rashford or Martial or any of the other forwards who got the club would have finished that one? I'm not sure.
No, Rashford definitely. Rashford and Martial don't score that because Martial's not making the run. And Rashford is not a reliable finisher. But he even had the composure then to go and take off his shirt and hold it up in front of the away end. And that was like a slight hand over eyes moment. Oh, mate. That's such bad behaviour.
but also good. We like that one. I didn't notice whether he got a booking for that one. I presume he did.
I guess he must have done. But that could almost be 2 yellow cards, one for taking the shirt off and one for waving the shirt with the name on in front of the crowd like a tit.
You're not allowed to incite fun. That's the thing. But a great moment. I mean, honestly, it was one of those games that really could have gone the other way. I mean, United were way too open. I'm sure Ten Hag's not happy about that. But 93rd minute, 18-year-old kid, the new favourite, just brilliant moment. And it there's so few kids come through the youth team and actually make it. Although there's obviously a history at United, but the chances of making it, even being a good player, are so small. But I'd be absolutely shocked if he doesn't have a really good career. There was a report in the midweek saying his contract actually runs till 2025, and United are relaxed about it. That was, have to say, news to me. Everyone was worried that it was 23 and running out this summer, so maybe signing an extension at some point that wasn't published. But if that's true, that's good.
Yeah, so it seems unlikely that he's not going to be a United player at least one more contract.
Yeah. I'm sure they sort it out. It's just with every performance, there's a few extra pounds on the contract.
He's not going to the World Cup, so he's got time to get stronger.
Yep.
I think he'll be very helpful in the rest of the season, and at some point he's just going to have to become a first choice, and it doesn't look like that time is very far away at all.
No, it really doesn't. He was in the extended or the provisional Argentina squad. They just got a lot of forwards, Argentina, so he must have been close because he was in the squad in March as well. Not actually made his debut yet, I don't think.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't take him just because he seems like a good wild card.
Yeah.
So just if you need a goal and everything else has failed, just someone with that kind of ludicrous pace and confidence is quite helpful. But I mean, as you say, like they're pretty well stocked, so you can understand.
Yeah, they took Pablo Dybala, who hasn't played in a couple of months. So, and honestly, I never thought he was that good. But I guess he's an experienced player that the manager trusts. So it's fine. I'm not that worried about Garnacho not going for him. There'll be other opportunities there, and he's got the chance to. He'll be in the training camp in Spain. Maybe hit the weights in the gym. And I'm sure he's going to play a big part in the second half of the season. I mean, clearly he's a great option for United. Martial is not going to remain fit because he never does. You just can't trust him, and/or his motivation. And Ronaldo, who knows? Like Ronaldo got a mystery illness. What a surprise! I have to say, I was 100% sure he wouldn't play in this game.
Yeah. Well, they've got a game in midweek, haven't they? And he's desperate for that. That's 200 caps.
Yeah. Zero chance he was playing today. I presumed it would be the hip flexor, which is the go-to when he doesn't want to play. But
I'm more than happy for him not to be there because, again, like we need the points now, and he's not in the best team. He's not in our best team, and there's pressure to pick him. And also, we're trying to become good, and he's not part of that. And whoever comes in to take his place in the squad is not going to be anything like him. So playing him just is totally counterproductive, really. And it just doesn't seem. I mean, I guess the players don't seem to mind having him around, as in, like, you see them subsequently after the games and whatever, and they seem to have some kind of good relationship with him. So to say that he's not good for team morale is an easy thing to trot out, but probably isn't true. But he just isn't good for the team, and I can't believe the players aren't aware of it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's interesting with Ten Hag because he's always very positive about him and played him a whole bunch recently. I mean, partly that's because Sancho's out, Martial's obviously been out most of this season. Anthony's been injured, so United have been light on forwards. And like, if everyone can stay fit in the second half of the season, then perhaps it's going to be more like the first part where Ronaldo's a squad player and finishing those last few months of the contract, presumably never to play for United again after this season.
Yeah, well, good. And one of the other things I was thinking, I did that Ten Hag's interview afterwards, where he was clearly, I mean, he was buzzing as you would hope, but he's always talking about mentality, and I always find this really interesting because when Roy Keane talks about it, then people are, he's a dinosaur. But when you've got someone like Ten Hag who's a technocrat and a coach, like those are the things he's renowned for. He's been hired to be United manager because he's good at coaching and because he's forward-thinking tactician, and he's still always banging on about mentality as well.
Yeah. So and calls specific players out for it as well.
Yeah, maybe it's important. Maybe when Roy Keane, who's won all those trophies, talks about it, maybe he's actually right. And
I thought it was interesting.
Susan on Twitter is wrong.
Yeah. Well, that's right. I never trust a player-related avatar on Twitter. It's a weird thing about
But not
modern
even
football,
that,
isn't
like
it?
just people that talk so much about tactics. Tactics are obviously important, but talent and
Yeah.
mentality are always going to be more important. And maybe mentality is itself a talent as well, like the ability to execute under pressure, to
Yes.
not be cowed. I mean, we saw it in the cricket as well today, where
Yep.
the man with the biggest bollocks in the world, who makes Buster Gonad look
Yep.
like a newborn baby, it's Ben Stokes. It's just that ability.
Ben Stokes, always Ben Stokes. Yep.
Refocus a game and make it about you just for a little bit.
Yeah.
And the ability to find the thing that a moment needs. And the best sportsmen, they all have timing. Just to do whatever happens to be necessary at a particular point,
Right in the
whether
moment.
it's what
Yeah.
they usually do or something completely different to what they do. Like Casemiro's goal against Chelsea, or I hate to say it, but that goal that Company scored for City against Leicester. Like certain kinds of personality. I don't think Company was that good a defender, but in terms like actual defending, but his personality made him a much better defender than his reliability in terms of performing the actual art of defending actually was.
Yeah.
And
it's interesting that the thing about Keane and he does sound old fashioned when he, as a pundit, when he keeps going on about this kind of stuff, because he doesn't talk about football sort of in the round, but as a player, clearly
he's not right about everything.
He was everything, and he had that mentality. He knew the moments, didn't he?
Yeah, and Keane's not right about everything. There's sometimes he talks, and it doesn't sound quite in step with where the game now is, but just in terms of his general principles, that talent and mentality are the most important things. That remains the case, and that will never change.
Yeah, work hard and your talent comes through. He was called out by Wayne Rooney this week. Really said that there's no way that he'd have ever actually stood for Ronaldo's antics as a player. Of course he wouldn't. So,
I mean, that was a really his support of Ronaldo this season has been very, very peculiar. I don't get it. Just as a bloke or as a player,
right?
I don't get it. But in general, I still feel he's quite an astute reader of what's going on, because in the end, football. It's not that football is simple exactly, is because you can make it complicated if you want to, but it's more actually that people are complicated. And Keane, I think, has a good appreciation of that. Even though wasn't always able as a manager to extract the most from all the different personalities.
Yep.
He knows that he himself is complicated. And it's about the ability to get the best out of yourself. I think with him, it's more that he thinks that everyone should be able to take responsibility for getting the best out of themselves, because that's what you're meant to do.
It's funny, some great players are not always able to translate what they were as a player to management. And clearly Keane, he always sort of struck me as being a frustrated manager, in that he never really had the group of players of the kind of talent he played with, and wasn't able to, I don't think really in any of his spells as a manager, uplift the players he was around. Glenn Hoddle had that thing as well, where he was a magnificent player and was kind of seemed frustrated with the players of inferior quality.
Well, at Sunderland, did he do well? He took them from bottom to promotion.
Right.
Yeah, he did a brilliant job.
Fair enough.
Got Sunderland promoted, and then he kept them up for a season. So he did do a really good job at Sunderland in those first 2 seasons. Hoddle as an English coach was actually a bit ahead of his time.
He was. I mean, he moved to 3 at the back, didn't he? He was manager when England won Le Tournoi, was he?
Yeah. No, that was him. And he understood that if you want to try and win a game, you have to dominate midfield. He would have got much more out of the golden generation, if we have to call them that, than Sven did, because he would have had the bollocks to drop someone.
Yeah,
and it definitely wouldn't have been Paul Scholes.
Yeah,
and he wouldn't have played 4-4-2. He would have found a way of, because he just understood that you need 3 in midfield at international level, and he the problem with Hoddle was in the end he sort of, I guess, got too pleased with himself. He got a bit unlucky
Bit of a weirdo.
in that Argentina World Cup. Probably he took a little bit too long to find his right team. He sort of knew before the competition that Beckham and Owen were in it, but he was basically trying to take Beckham down a few pegs. And he was.
Who did he play? He played Darren Anderton at wing-back or something in the opening game of that World Cup.
He did, but Anderton also was still playing in the Colombia game, I think, because did he not score?
But maybe.
He played Sheringham instead of Owen, and Owen came off the bench against Romania and scored.
Yeah.
And they lost anyway. And then that game they had to win against Colombia, I think Owen played that one, so did Beckham. I actually, for that England-Colombia game, I was in Egypt. I was in the desert. There's this little place in Sinai where so it's close to the border with Israel, where in those days, like, weed wasn't legal, but it was where kids from Israel used to go and basically buy humongous bags of weed for no money whatsoever and dive. And it was just these beautiful beaches with no one there, really, and just like hammocks and that kind of thing. It was amazing. And so I was there. And so we all settled down to watch England-Colombia or whatever for that game. And it's like, oh, they're showing Tunisia against Romania. Of course they are. And I mean, England aren't my team, but I definitely wanted to watch England and Colombia and not Tunisia and Romania. Tunisia and Romania we watched.
Smoking a huge doobie. Better than smoking sulfuric acid or what have you been on this weekend, I suppose.
Maybe it's superior in line form.
So where do you think United are now? Heading into the break, 15 games, so a third of the season, just over a third of the season gone. Progress, but
loads of progress, absolutely loads of progress. Because especially if you bear in mind that we lost the first couple of games, if you almost
and got hammered by City, so
you can't forget about those games because they took place, but. Aside from the games that they did badly and they did
from getting hammered in those games,
apart from when they were shit,
what have the Romans done for us?
Yeah, they were not shit. But the first two games sort of feel like their own thing. A new manager trying to work out what to do, trying to find the most politically acceptable way of getting rid of the people he thinks are twats, and we paid heavy price for that. But since then, there's been a lot of good football. Big improvements, likeable players, not enough goals.
Not enough goals. Just the 20 goals, so which is fewer than Arsenal, City, Newcastle, Tottenham,
way
Liverpool, Brighton, and Fulham.
Yeah,
fewer than Brentford.
Way fewer than those teams.
Yeah, even Leeds in 15th have scored more goals than us. But
there is the sense that there are more goals in this team, and.
Yeah, they create chances. I mean, as I said, 6 big chances today, 14 shots. That's good. That's good against Fulham side who've been all right this season. So it is the finishing. It's the finishing off. Like any number 9 doesn't have to be the best in the world. Any number 9, I think, makes this team better.
And also, just someone to play off as well. Someone who can hold the ball up. You will automatically get the ball into the opposition penalty area more often and have the opportunity to then create more. So. Even if you miss more, you should also, which I'm sure they will, you would also score more. So I'm hopeful. I think that we still need a centre forward, and it needs to be someone good. I know you just said that even a crap centre forward would be good, and I agree with you. But I guess in the summer, I would put everything I had to put into getting a centre forward first of all, and I would, if it only meant one player and it was the right centre forward, I would do that. Even though there are other departments that I'd like. Then I guess you're trying to get Maguire out, and with the money you can get from Maguire, say,
which won't be much, but it will be something.
Yeah, you're trying to find a young centre back who's gonna take over from Varane and play when Varane's not fit, which is obviously a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And you just need to pick the right one.
I suspect. I mean, they're obviously going to try and do a deal for Maguire somewhere, and Wan-Bissaka will be off at some point.
Well, Maguire presumably will want to leave. He's 29. He knows.
Right.
He knows.
I would be on the phone to Newcastle wouldn't you like the England captain? Yeah. Doesn't this help your PR effort? See, it's like the time unfair comparison, like the time United sold Juan Sebastian Veron to Chelsea and got a good fee for him as well. So
did you just compare Harris Maguire to Juan Sebastian Veron?
I did. I said it was unfair. I did.
One of the coolest men ever to play football. We're one of the biggest dweebs ever to play football. Like Maguire was like that lummox in the playground who sort of sits on his own, and then at the beginning, like the first lesson, like he turns up in like dirty uniform and sits on his own. And then you get in the playground, you're like, "Shut up! You can play! No way!"
The comparison really is with the filthy money at the other end of the deal. We'll see. I noticed you enjoyed, as I did, Maguire's cover story in Sunday Times magazine today, where he's wearing what looks to be a chocolate brown velvet suit, which I don't know whether it's his or they dressed him in.
Or he shat himself.
It's a strong look. It's a strong look from Harry.
Just hang on 1 second. I need to call my daughter up to go to bed.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. No.
But yeah, I laughed my arse off at that Maguire photo. Just everything about it is brilliant. Obviously, the brown suit, the not fashionable person trying to be dead fashionable, the bright white trainers. I don't know. Maybe this is just me being old. But amongst my group of mates, when you got a new pair of white trainers, or really one of the first things you wanted to do was sort of scuff them up a little bit. It's the same as when you have a haircut. You don't want to look like a twat who's just had a haircut, because it was always sort of viewed as like a bit poncy. Not everyone wants to look good, and everyone, so you'd have your haircut, but you didn't want it to be too short so it looked like you were making an effort, because I guess the point, like, cool's meant to be effortless. So if your crep are just absolutely like you can see your face in them, that was not done. And also the ball is just in such an awkward position that it looks like it's somehow been shanked and he's looking the other way.
And it could be with him. The old-fashioned ball to match the suit, and then staring directly into the camera with his come-hither eyes, looking directly at you, Dad. I memean, amazing. He's going to go to the World Cup, and he'll start for Southgate's England, and it's a quarterfinal exit because he's going to fuck up in a major game.
It may be him. It may be him. It may be someone else. It could be anyone. I don't know. I think that, England could be anyone. But what I would say about Maguire and that interview is I thought he comes over okay. There's an official pod where he gives a long interview, and he seems like a sound bloke. And sure. I know that we like to take the piss out of him because, partly that's just because we're football fans. Taking the piss out of footballers is what you do, like, particularly the players that play for your own team, and particularly the players that really encourage you to do so with their public pronouncements, whether by deed or by word. But I do think Maguire's probably a good boy.
Look, I actually don't doubt that, and I think he hasn't helped himself over time by posting sort of fairly bland, inane social media posts, apologising all at the wrong time when you actually want the performances. So I'm sure he's sound enough, and his transgressions while under the influence in Greece were a one-off or something like that.
Well, no, he actually in the Times interview talks about that, and he says the way he tells the story is very different to that there were no transgressions. He said he wasn't on a lad's holiday. He was well out with his family. Someone put something. His sister got spiked. He was trying to help her out, and he ended up getting walloped by the police, and ending up. I can't exactly remember the details. He ended up getting beaten about the legs with truncheons by the police, and ended up in a cell. And he says that he's not worried about it because his conscience is totally clear that he did absolutely nothing wrong. And it sounded very believable. Like, I don't think he doesn't come across as the kind of bloke who's raising hell on holiday. And
at the time, remember, he gave that interview to Dan Rohn and gave a good account of himself and put up a strong defence. So, anyway, I'm sure he'll be keeping out of trouble in Qatar in whatever compound they're in.
Unless he's on the pitch.
In which case, either him or John Stones or one of them will most definitely be giving England some trouble.
It was Stones last time, wasn't it, against Croatia?
Yep. One of them, yeah. We'll see. The actual squad, England squad, it looks like pretty balanced. Although you look at the midfield options, and if your first change is going to be Phillips, who hasn't played any minutes this season, or Henderson, who's shot. That's not good. But the attacking options look pretty exciting.
They've got
Southgate never wants to use them.
They've got good players. They've got loads of good players. I don't think Southgate will find the best team that there is there. And he knows the defenders aren't good. So what his way of doing that is to have more of them and to try and block the other team off with two blokes in front of them. Yep. Whereas another way of doing it is to try and keep the ball down the other end and also to outscore them. And they're not going to change into a possession team. But I'm sure he plans once he gets to the knockouts, he's hoping that Phillips is fit. And it'll be Rice, Phillips, and then Bellingham if he's made a compelling case in that time, or Mount. It won't be Bellingham, Rice, and an attacker. That just seems really unlikely. But
it does, and Mount will be in one of the forward positions or at number 10.
Well,
where he doesn't really produce enough. So.
It's really easy for the likes of us to say, well, I would play Rice, Bellingham, and an attacker because it's not our arse on the line if it goes wrong. I think one of the things that frustrates me watching England about Southgate is that his refusal to countenance attackers that aren't Sterling and Kane.
Yeah.
Now, Kane, I understand why you might want him on the pitch at all times. He's the captain. He's the only real class centre-forward you've got. And if there's a chance dropping, even if he's played out his arse, you want the chance dropping to him. And he's also just deadly from sort of 12 to 22 yards. Probably from that range, the best finisher I've ever seen. And so I get that. But Sterling, I don't think is that much more talented than Saka, Rashford, Foden, those other players that you might use. But it does. All this strength and depth doesn't matter if you won't use it. And in the Euros, he basically refused to use it.
That's right. Even when the game was going the wrong way, he wasn't able to change it.
One thing I did notice in that Maguire interview actually was he called it. I mean, obviously, I'm going to say accurately because it happens to tally with my own personal opinion, which of course is accurate. But he said that against Croatia in that semi, they sort of settled for a goal up, and similarly against Italy, they didn't push the pace. And Croatia is easier to understand. Ultimately, once that Croatian midfield got going, England didn't have the players to compete with them. And at that stage, Croatia's best is probably better than England's best. But England should have beaten Italy, and they should have beaten Italy relatively comfortably as well. And they didn't because they've got a manager who's managed like Middlesbrough and managed England like he's managing Middlesbrough, when that's not the way of it, because England have players now that are good enough to compete with almost everyone in the game of football. They're not going to out-possession. They're not going to out-possession Spain, but they don't need to go.
But if they get the ball into attacking areas, they've got lots and lots of talent. Anyway, we're going to do a World Cup preview, I think, with Tom, and I've had a conversation with a couple of researchers from Amnesty to talk about the sort of wider context around Qatar. So that will be coming up in the week, and we'll be back with the normal United pod sometime in December. I'm not sure whether we'll be bothering to do a preview of United versus Burnley in the EFL Cup 3 days after the World Cup final, but we'll be probably back to talk about that completely pointless game, completely the wrong time. What a strange season this will be. Anyway, backers, stay tuned. We'll have a little chat about the weekend's games. And else, we'll catch you soon.
Tara, please.